For a high schooler, I always tell them, forget it. And then after saying that, I say, forget it for right now. And the reason I tell them that is because there are three things they've gotta be willing and able to do. One of them is study really hard. They don't have to be a straight A student, but they really ought to strive to be the #1 person in whatever their chosen field is. Even if you don't make it there, at least the practice of trying to be #1 is good. The second thing is work really hard. For the athletes in here, or dancers, or performers, or anybody, you know it is practice. When I use the term work hard, I mean practice. And when you're in an academic environment, your practice is your work in the classroom, whether it's homework or anything else. If you don't, just like an athlete, if you don't practice, you're not gonna play. If you don't practice in the classroom, if you don't study really hard, and you don't practice the material, you're not gonna play. You're not gonna play in the things that you wanna do later in life. And that's almost true for anything. I can't think of a profession where you just gaff everything off and then all of a sudden you're #1 in that profession. And I once wanted to be a trash man, a garbage man. And my mother was embarrassed. I'm not sure why, but back when I was a kid growing up in Columbia, South Carolina, in my early days, when the garbage truck went down the truck, the trash man picked up the trash barrels and kind of threw them over the side of the truck, and they went on until the truck was filled up. And then all of a sudden one day, the trash man came and I heard this and all this stuff, and I noticed all they did was throw the trash in the back of the truck, turn on the hydraulic press, and they could go through the whole neighborhood because somebody had figured out, okay, there is a way to do this stuff. Well, you couldn't find somebody who didn't know at least how to operate a hydraulic press or, understand what was going on, even to ride the trash truck. The reason I wanted to ride it not was because of academics, was because I liked the way they hung off the back as they were going down the street. So a silly reason, but I also learned that even that person has to have some level of expertise in that particular field. And the third thing, most important, is cannot be afraid of failure. Cannot possibly succeed if they're afraid of failing and they duck and dodge all the hard things. And sometimes for some of the teachers or professors in here, you probably tell your students sometimes you're not working hard. You're just trying to get an A, and that's not gonna take you where you wanna go. People have the misconception from hearing it in relation to Apollo 13 that NASA believes failure is not an option, that we cannot fail, and nothing would be farther from the truth. If NASA had a fear of failure mentality, we wouldn't be anywhere. We wouldn't be able to do the kinds of bold things that we want to do. So we tell people fail early, fail often, or fail early, fail fast, or something. But get the failures out of the way by pressing every day beyond where you think your limits are. And that'll help you improve every day. So I didn't mean all that. At some point, that high school student will get to college or go somewhere, become a professional, get a job, and then once they have a job that they can put on a resume, then apply to be an astronaut. NASA, I can't talk for the other companies, NASA doesn't hire somebody for a first job to be an astronaut. NASA looks for people who have a technical background. They still do that. So you're talking about science, math, medicine, engineering, 3 years of operational experience. And the operational experience means working in a laboratory, doing something where you have to do critical thinking. You have to think out of the box. I hate that term. As a pilot, all the stuff we do when you're really good is in the corners of the box. You almost never get out of the box, because when you get out of the box in an airplane, you're probably dead. So you want to go to the very corners of the box, go to everything you can possibly do and still survive. And I would say if you want to be an astronaut, as you're being a student, you ought to do that. You ought to take every course you can possibly take that stresses you and pushes you to your limits. You'll be much better off for it. So that's kind of what I meant.
Great answer. Thank you very much.
I'll try not to answer as long and
the floor is open.